Yo, I'm Will Blackman. This is Upsets and Underdogs presented by WynnBET. This episode will dig into the very first Week 18. This probably was the most exciting season ever. The Lions took down the number one seed in the Green Bay Packers. The Dolphins defeated the Patriots in Miami, and the freaking Jaguars stunned the Colts, knocking them out of the playoffs. That is brutal. Today, we'll break down those games and discuss what we can learn from them. So stick around. This show is brought to you by WynnBET. The NFL regular season is over, but there is still plenty of time to get in on the action. So right now, download the WynnBET app and start winning today. New users can take advantage of WynnBET's Bet $1, win $100 offer. If you bet just $1, you can win a free $100 bet on almost any sport: NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, college football, UFC, boxing, and more. And they're also offering a 200% wager matchup up to $1,500. For all details on these offers, download the WynnBET app now and set the odds in your favor. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 20 or older and present in the state where WynnBET is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, without further ado, bring in my guy, Nick Diaz, a.k.a. Lamb, a.k.a. the flag football lord, a.k.a. Jiu-Jitsu man. Welcome to Black Monday.
Yes, sir.
It is.
Yes, sir. I thought you were going to keep going with these nicknames, man. You were flowing there. I was excited.
Well, because I got to get to the show, man. We can't be here all day. Noah got stuff to do. He got a jackhammer outside his house that he wants probably to leave his house and get away from that noise. But yeah, dude, it is Black Monday. It is nuts. Already out the gate. Well, first of all, before we get into that, exciting game last night.
Oh yeah.
One, like literally, I think everyone in the world was watching this game, the Chargers and the Raiders. And it's crazy because somebody laid on a parlay, and one of their things was a tie. And I think they laid on $20 and they would have won like 10 grand, which is part of their parlay. And I was like, there's no way this will end in a tie. There's no way this will end in a tie. And we were 2 seconds from this game ending in a tie, like literally 2 seconds. And Rich Bisaccia, he said, we thought about it, but they popped that big run, which ultimately gave him a chance to go and win the game.
Well, check this out, Will. A bettor with WynnBET in New Jersey hit a $1,000 two-leg parlay that included the Jaguars money line and the Chargers Raiders game to finish with a tie at the end of regulation. He put $1,000 and he won $115,000.
No way.
Just for the game to finish in a tie to go into overtime.
No way.
Talk about how rich.
Wow. I mean that's gnarly, man. But yeah, we'll get into that more because I know that's a game we both picked, and you got me on that one. But let's get right into Black Monday. Right out the gate, Nagy, Ryan Pace get fired. Ziggy and Zimmer sounds like a band, right? Ziggy and Zimmer, they both get fired in Minnesota. So right now the NFC North is interesting. And then out of nowhere, Brian Flores, my dog B-Flow, gets canned in Miami. That was a total shocker. But it was a shocker in terms of I didn't think it would happen at all. By any means, he still had 2 years left in his deal. But it goes back to, I'm not surprised. And every time I think of this, I always go back to the Marty Schottenheimer situation in San Diego, going 14-2, and then having some disagreements with the front office. He gets fired. You know what I'm saying? And apparently there was a report I saw from Darius Butler saying that, him and the Greer did not get along. Brian Flores and Chris Greer did not get along in terms of decision making, and it was like him or me type of deal. And that's just weird, man. And you see Stephen Ross's press conference, and he says we want consistency. Well, it's like 2 winning seasons, especially if you. It'd be different. Like, okay, if they finish 9-8, just win a game here, lose a game here. But the fact that they went 8 straight, was it 8 straight games or 7 straight games?
7
straight wins. Like, that is character right there. To have a coach and go 7 straight after losing, being over and then doing that. That's right there is, this tells me like there's somebody out there that he wants. That's what it says. Hey, thank you for getting us to a point where we're competitive. There's somebody else out there I like. And that was mind blowing for me. The Nagy and the Pace thing, everybody was waiting for that to happen. The Zimmer, that situation was, okay, I can see that too, especially in the front office. You pay Kirk all that money and you're kind of trapped with Kirk. And it's kind of like it's cool, but it's not cool enough. So it's tough, man. It's Black Monday is interesting. I put out a tweet earlier today how everyone is like, actually, because I saw Adam Schefter said it on TV, he was like, man, it's tough for these coaches getting fired because their families, I'm like, okay. My wife actually said this morning. She said, I have sympathy for coaches who are wrongly fired. And I feel bad for their families when they don't deserve to be fired. But players get cut left and right every single week. You got to move all over the place. We moved 11 times. My family moved 11 times. Now, it's not, we didn't play it for 11 teams, but it's like, okay, we live in California. We go to Green Bay. Okay, we get cut from Green Bay. We move back to California. That's a move. Then, okay, we get picked up by New York. We move to New York. Okay, we get cut by New York. We move to California. Okay, we picked up by, Seattle. We go to Seattle, move back. Go to Jacksonville, move back. Go to Seattle, move back. Like, that's what it was, because we were always on like 1 year, 2 year situations. We never made anywhere we lived home. Jacksonville is probably the only place where we did stay for a little bit, but we didn't make it home. So people get cut all the time. And I get it. Yeah, as a head coach gets cut and all of a sudden all his other assistants, but those assistants actually have a chance to interview again for their job. Sometimes they stay, sometimes they don't. So yeah, Black Monday is tough, but it is what it is. Do you see anyone else possibly getting hit today?
Well, the one that I'm closely monitoring is the one from my favorite football team. Dude, yesterday was, fan is short for fanatic, so I still had them on my TV and I was watching it, and I also was invested in the Washington football team to cover the 6.5 points. And the crowd was a no-show, and rightfully so, right? I was looking at some of the tickets to go to the game, $6 to get into MetLife. Parking is like $50 to get in. And at this point, the organization is just, it's been an abomination. And I think Judge, the way he's handled the last couple of weeks, is like, what is happening? And that's one that I'm closely monitoring. I agree with you. Flores came out of nowhere. I was shocked. And I loved your tweet when I saw it this morning. It seems like, isn't it very similar to college football too?
It is. When a coach leaves or a kid wants to transfer.
Yeah. A coach could just get up and leave and get the bag. But when a player wants to, it's like, oh, he doesn't love the game and all the other.
Or he's scared of competition, all that stuff. It's like, right. You go where the opportunity is. And so it is what it is. It's so funny. Speaking of the Joe Judge thing, when they went for it on 39, when he went the quarterback sitting on 39, I totally was joking about my tweet when I said, come on, guys. They want to give the punter room. That was part of my tweet. And I watched his press conference, and that's exactly what they did. That was his exact thought process. His exact thought process was, look, man, I want to give our punter room because we don't want what happened last week happen this time. It's like, and Dan Orlovsky made such a good point. He was like, why did I bust my tail all week so we can run a QB sneak on 3rd and 9? Why am I even here? We're 4-12. Like, why? Why are we playing it safe? Why are we looking at percentage? You don't want your punt blocked? This is an opportunity. This is a rep. You get to practice this situation because you're going to be backed up plenty of times next season. You're going to be backed up. So this is a good opportunity to work on being backed up. Just protect it. That's wild.
We need to move on, man. I can't do this. I can't do this.
Let's move on. All right, let's catch up on the record books real quick. My picks. This is so dumb, dude. The Chargers and the Rams. It was looking fantastic. Fantastic. The Rams blow a lead. Chargers, I mean, they I don't know, man. I don't know. Kudos to them for like getting all those fourth down conversions, which was like those throws from Herbert were absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, Chargers could have got this done, but, you know, they can't stop the run. My underdog to win outright was Seattle. I love that pick. So I'm 7-8 on my underdogs of the week so far. My favorite pick to cover were the Dolphins, and they got it done. So I'm 8-7, my favorite picks of the week. So my overall record is 22-28. Gosh, Nick, what are your updates?
Upset of the week, I had the Lions.
How about that? I couldn't believe it.
9-6 on the year. Look, in the first, they were even winning in the first half too when Rodgers and those guys were out there. We'll get to that in a little bit. Favorite pick as well. I was on the Rams. Will, we both were on the Rams, and guess what? First time McVay loses with a lead going into halftime. Of course, because we were both on it, and we're not allowed to have nice things. Overall, 23-27 on the year, which means, Will, 23 is more than 22.
Well, are we not picking playoffs in Super Bowl?
We are, but listen,
okay,
the regular season.
Then, so just wait, you know.
Regular season crown.
Listen,
right
last person that did regular season crown, I ended up beating them in the Super Bowl. So listen.
Oh, hey, yeah. I enjoyed that.
Okay, so all right, let's jump into our breakdown before you try to find something else to be happy about, so you can erase the drama from the Giants in your mind. So this is the segment where we break down the biggest upsets of last week. So upset number 1 was my upset of the week. The Seahawks won 38-30 over the Cardinals as a plus 5.5 underdog, and also plus 225 on the money line. So this was the Russell we all hoped for. We wanted all year, right? Just out there doing his thing, looking mobile, looking fresh, almost like he was auditioning for other teams this year. That's kind of what it looked like to me. Like, look, I still got action. And Lockett, he's just known for lighting them up. But I'll tell you what's exciting. And I actually befriended this kid, man, Rashad Penny. Like looking like the first round pick that they got 3 years ago, I forget what it was. Looking outstanding, finding his rhythm like at the right time. And I love, again, I mentioned before, I love what he did in college. And when they picked him out, I'm like, okay, this is like their missing piece. Like they needed a run game. And unfortunately, he's dealt with some injuries and what have you. But he found his groove. He's looking outstanding. $190 on the ground and a TD. But this is interesting because, especially with the coaching stuff going on, and obviously in terms of like next year, you hear Aaron Rodgers' name thrown around, you hear Russ's name thrown around a lot in terms of like where people can go. Obviously, the Saints is a place you talk about, and also Denver's a place you talk about. Honestly, I think this situation, now that Vic Fangio got fired, I think the match made in heaven situation would be Russell Wilson and Doug Peterson in Denver. Don't know how likely, but that would just be like outstanding, especially for Elway. Last time Elway got a stud, he won a Super Bowl. He actually lost to Russell too, but it's almost like he has to go back to the rent a QB situation, instead of draft, because clearly they can't draft a quarterback, right? I mean that's like out of the question. So it's kind of like, hey, if we want to win, their defense is good. It's competitive. They got really good running backs. They got really good receivers now. And so it's like that quarterback position has been the issue for that team. And I think getting Russell, getting someone like Peterson, an offensive play caller, I think that would be outstanding for them.
Yeah, I think all the reasons that you mentioned about the offense, whether it's the running backs, the weapons, and obviously their defense has always, seems like the Broncos defense has been a staple, even through the bad years that they've had. The interesting thing is this feels as if a veteran quarterback is going to pick Denver, similar to how Brady picked the Bucs. You were looking at those Bucs teams, Will, and you were saying to yourself, man, if they just had a quarterback and then they get Brady, they go on to win a Super Bowl. This is probably the best landing spot for any of these quarterbacks that are in this discussion of moving, if you're looking at it, with the exception being Rodgers staying in Green Bay, because I think Green Bay has a really good roster. But, man, if you're looking at that Denver team, I like that call. I didn't think of it. I've been sort of, fanboying, and I got goggles on when it comes to Russell Wilson wearing Giants blue. But I don't think anyone wants to come here at the time, Will.
That's what I mean. Is as a quarterback, you don't want to go to a uncertain situation.
Absolutely.
You want some good bones, but I mean, I don't know, man. I saw a crazy. Speaking of Giants, I saw that I think Galladay and
Tony.
They
had as many touchdowns as I did, Will.
No TDs. That's crazy, right? You pay big money in the first round pick. They have no TDs. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you one thing real quick before we get into some of these gambling takeaways. And you're looking at the Cardinals in this game coming up against Seattle. Are you worried about teams that had something to play for, which is a common theme in a lot of these games that we're going to discuss? So the Cardinals had something to play for. They lose this game on the last game of the regular season, but they are heading into the playoffs. Are you buying into like momentum going into the playoffs, especially for a team like Arizona that still had a chance at the division, especially with how this Rams game turned out?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the games this week, you had a team set for the playoffs versus a division opponent, where either there was something to gain or whether there wasn't something to gain. We'll get into obviously Detroit and Green Bay is another one. The Niners and the Rams was another one. Those division games, which is why in this situation, Seattle has something to play for. They're playing against a rival. Let's just do something to like upset them. Let's not give them the division first of all, because we have control of that. Because I know Pete Carroll's his mantra is like, hey, win the West and we're in. Win the West and we're in. So let's not give it to Arizona. I mean, we're playing against them. So you do want to have some kind of momentum, which is why, I think, Green Bay did play their guys initially, and then Love came in and threw all those picks. So, yeah, I mean, you do want to have some kind of momentum, but however, you are in the dance and you have time to clear your head and move on, because once you get into the playoffs, it really is. I know fans and analysts say like, hey, it's a different ballgame. It really is. I mean, the hits are 10 times harder. The coaches are way more intense because there is no tomorrow. You're not playing a series. It's one and done, and that's just how it is. So I think, yes, you want to have momentum, but at the same time, once you close that chapter, then you literally are all about it. It is a new season. It is a fresh start. It is what it is. Now, momentum can help you if you're in this, situation where you barely get in. Like this momentum's going to help San Fran. They weren't in, but now they got in. It's going to help San Fran. San Fran is probably the most dangerous team in the NFC, and that's why if the Cowboys aren't at their best, they're gonna struggle. If the Cowboys are at their best, then Cowboys will go all the way to the Super Bowl. So good to see your insights.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, games like this one here where you had one team playing for something, Will, and the other team sort of just wanting to be spoiler, like you mentioned. These games are massively overinflated. The sports books know this. If the Bill at the bar knows that the Cardinals need this game in order to win their division, the sports book knows this too. And this is something that you see on every week 17 in the past, now week 18 slate. So there's no edge. It's built into the lines, right? Heading into this week, a lot of people blindly bet. I had buddies that would hit me up and just say, oh, I'm betting this team because they need to win, right? It's like, not so fast. Teams heading into the last week of the season since 2003 with playoff implications, win and you're in scenarios, Will, 16-26 against the spread. So the sports books are saying, oh, you need this win to make the playoffs? All right, bet. Let's add 3 more points to that line. Let's overinflate this. People are just going to blindly come in and bet on this anyway. And that's what you saw in this game, what you saw in a lot of player props, and a common theme throughout the rest of these games that we break down.
Okay, so upset number 2. Lamb, this was your upset of the week. The Lions beating the Packers 37-30. Money line plus 125. I did not see this happening, but we talked about it all year with the Lions. The one thing that Dan Campbell has them doing, they are competing. Again, another division game, not really anything to play for in terms of any postseason implications, but it's a chance to let's line up and go against Green Bay. Let's go ahead and do our things. Green Bay ended up playing their starters until the halftime, which is why it was pretty competitive. Typical Aaron Rodgers, 14-18, 2 TDs. Devontae ends up breaking the single season Packers receiving yards record. Again, it's weird this year because with the extra game, these records are getting broken. So it is what it is with that. And and then the guy I've been like cheering about all year, even before he even got drafted, I said this dude's gonna be a steal. Amon-Ra St. Brown caps off his outstanding rookie season. 8 catches, 109 yards, 1 TD. And I'm just, it's so interesting because the fact that someone like him drops to the 4th round, it kind of is almost like lazy scouting to me. Are you looking at like attributes or the biggest thing you want in the first round receiver, like people like can he separate from somebody? But I look at maybe I'm biased because I got to watch him in person firsthand since he was young in high school. And every single camp he went to, he also went to Mater Dei, the best high school in the country. He was the best player on the best high school in the country. And he played in every All-American game, and he dominated every single kid. All your favorite DBs that are in the NFL, he cooked them in high school. Yes, it's high school. Goes to USC, ends up dominating guys at USC as well. And I just look at overall his whole pedigree, his mentality. And even they would talk about it on Sunday. They said he's so intense, he's so serious. They said talking to him, you think you're talking to a 35-year-old, 12-year NFL veteran. You think you're talking to a guy like that when you talk to Amon-Ra. That's just how he is, and that's why I was so shocked that he fell to the 4th round. And that's why I was like, he's going to be an absolute steal because this dude competes. He is a baller. He's the best out of all 3 of his brothers. And I think it was just outstanding. And you see it right here for someone to come in, especially to a team like that, a team that was literally bottom of the barrel and being competitive, making plays. It's really cool. Goff, he found himself again. Sometimes you have to go through something to find yourself. Mm-hmm. And with Goff, going to Cal, being a 1st round pick, playing for the Rams, all was good. Let's send him to Detroit, so we can, get some hair in his chest and get some kind of edge. Because that was the only thing that was missing from Goff is no one didn't think Goff can throw the ball. Goff can throw the ball very well. Goff's a very good quarterback. But no one believed he had an edge. No one was afraid of him. No one was like, okay, we're going to line up across Goff and he's going to go ahead and just like tear us apart. And we're afraid to get on his bad side like an Aaron or a Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? Like we're afraid to get on his bad side because he just might get hot and all of a sudden cook us up. I think you're starting to see a little more of that edge from Goff. And I'm not in the building in Detroit, but I'm sure Goff is getting challenged every week by Dan Campbell. He's taking on some of that. Like, look, we're out here to compete. We're out here to fight every single week, and you're seeing that in his quarterback play.
Hey man, you ain't kidding. 11-6, Will, the Detroit record against the spread. Only the Packers and the Cowboys have a better record this year. And I love what you said about St. Brown because a lot of times people don't really digest as much tape as they say they do. And that's the only rationale I have in a guy like that falling the way he did. Quick story. I watch a lot of European basketball with my dad when I used to live at home because like those games come on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, Wednesday, right before Champions League soccer. I know you're a Champions League and soccer guy. And I used to watch Luka play. And this is the year that Luka was coming out with DeAndre Ayton. And look, Ayton's been fantastic for the Suns, but Luka is a top 3 to 5 guy in the league now. And I remember just telling my buddies, yo, I've seen this dude play. He's the MVP in the second biggest league in the world, and he's 18. He's going up against grown men, and he's dominating them. And they would all tell me, I've watched some highlights. Yeah, everyone looks on highlights. I'm like, no, it's not highlights. I've watched games on a random Thursday afternoon. I'm watching games. So when you're watching someone, and like you said, you got to see them in high school too, it's a different ball game from, your combine runs or how much you bench press, At least that's what I think.
Well, no, you're right. And also SC has gone through multiple head coaches. They're going through multiple quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like he was there in a consistent environment and he was kind of like, that's how he played. Like he went through a lot, but he still is who he is. So I think just, I love the fact that what's happening there for him is happening because I always thought he was an outstanding talent. So some takeaways from this one.
It's funny that I made this my favorite upset of the week because I just kept telling everybody and on Twitter, there's certain games you shouldn't bet. And this is one too, right? Like the Packers played in the first half, all their guys, and then they sat them. Like you said, Jordan Love comes in, but to bet or not to bet this game, because you didn't know. There were reports Rodgers was going to sit. Other reports Rodgers wanted to play because he didn't want to go 2-3 weeks without playing in a game. And this was just a game that you shouldn't have bet on, in my opinion, just because it was just too much uncertainty.
But this was an interesting one too. When you took this, I was like, wow. And then I saw it. I told you, I texted the group. I'm like, man, no way that this happened, but it did. It did. Good for you.
Well, yeah. At the time, though, real quick, at the time, the initial reports when we recorded were that the starters were going to sit. So yeah, Detroit catching points at home, like you were saying, they play tough, division opponent. I felt like Dan Campbell would get his guys up for this last one.
Let's go to upset number 3. Dolphins beat the Patriots 33-24 as a plus 220 underdog. I had this one. I had them as my favorite of the week. For some reason, New England cannot figure it out in South Beach. I don't know. I don't know what it is. The 2-4
Miami flu.
Let's not throw around the flu word, man. There's too much
climate. You're right.
I know.
I'll take that back. Cut that out.
Miami is 2-4 in their last 6 games. The Patriots are 2-4 in their last 6 games in South Beach. Waddle sets the rookie catch record for $104. He also had 1,000 yards and 6 TDs on the year. So, these SEC receivers, man, are just getting it done. Mac Jones threw a pick 6. I don't want to read his stats. He has 20, 30, 261, 1 TD. He threw a pick 6. Mm-hmm. And Duke Johnson gets it done at the crib. Another 100 yards on the ground. Yeah, I just felt with the momentum with Miami, how strong they're playing on both sides of the football. And I just felt good about it. That's just what it was. Despite Miami having lots of success against the Patriots at home, again, I just felt especially with Miami's defense, like how well they're playing, how physical they have been, and the momentum again, which is why the firing of Brian Flores was a shock. So, what are some outstanding gambling takeaways you got from this game?
9-2 in their last 11 games versus the Patriots are the Dolphins in Miami. And this is also the Brady Patriots too. Just something about New England when they go down there. Maybe it's because that the hot weather and the humidity catches up to them after being in 23-degree weather in New England. I don't know, Will, but it's just something alarming. And I thought about this. In your experience as a player, were there ever any places where you just didn't want to go play in? Because they either had your number or it's the fans or it's something like that.
Yeah, the one place, not just myself, but I knew the whole league, was New Orleans. I don't think anyone really wanted to play in New Orleans. That place was nuts. You look at Drew Brees' record, right? I think he played like 145 games, at home, 142 games away. At home, in 145 games, he threw 332 touchdowns and 119 picks. Away, he's thrown 239 touchdowns and 124 picks. Almost 100 less touchdowns away, and pretty much in the same amount of games. New Orleans was absolutely nuts. And the people were mean. They were rude. I almost said mood, mean and rude together. They were just absolutely crazy. The place was rowdy. So you just knew like that place is going to be rough. I don't think I ever won a game in New Orleans. I can't think of one time I did. And it reminds me of the playoffs when we were in New York and we were begging for San Fran to beat New Orleans. We were like, oh my gosh, no one wants to go to New Orleans. We'd rather go to, even though the San Fran game was close as hell, but nobody wanted to go down there. And to my point, that's what it was. So yeah, New Orleans, not having it, man. They were mean to us. They were mean to our fans. Like if you wore a different jersey, forget about it. Thank you. Who you were, woman, male, child, you were getting cussed out. Although San Fran actually did that. They cussed out my nephew at the time. I think he was like 5. They said something crazy. They said something crazy to him. Just absolutely disrespectful. I know everyone talks a lot about like Philly being a bad place, but like I never had any drama in Philly. Philly was cool. Philly was straight.
Yeah, that was my favorite combo from the show we did together out in Vegas because it was cool to hear the players say, man, I didn't want to play New Orleans because that's what my friends and I, all us Giants fans, were saying. Just don't go to New Orleans. We got throttled earlier in the regular season.
Throttled.
Just House of Horrors. So it was nice to hear that from you.
All right, this show is brought to you by WynnBET. The NFL playoffs are just around the corner, so what are you waiting for? Download the WynnBET app and start winning today. New users can take advantage of WynnBET's bet $1, win $100 offer. If you bet just $1, you can win a free $100 bet on almost any sport. NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, college football. Y'all got 1 week left. UFC, boxing, and more. And they're also offering a 200% wager matchup up to $1,500. Nick, what are you liking this week on the app?
I would.
If you don't say Alabama, you're off the show. Well, go ahead.
No. We spoke about that last week. But what I do want to mention, Will, is these playoff games now, especially more so than ever, because we've narrowed the pool down, and these are like the best teams in the league because they made the playoffs for the most part. Bet the lines early in some cases.
Yes.
Like the Bengals, for example, I would bet that as soon as possible. It's -6 on WynnBET right now. You look at the Raiders, they play a Sunday night football game, goes into overtime, 9 minutes and 58 seconds worth of overtime.
Goes to the end of overtime.
Goes to the end. Now they got to go on a short week because they're playing the 4:30 Eastern time game on Saturday. Terrible scheduling spot. And I know the Bengals also played on Sunday, but they played in Cleveland. I don't know how far exactly Cleveland
and the starters didn't play.
And the starters didn't play. Chase played a couple drives just to break that record, and they pulled him also. I think that line will come Saturday. You might see a balloon up to 7.5. I would bet that right now if you like the Bengals.
Yeah, and because if you look at the Raiders, everyone in that game last night was exhausted.
Oh, man.
Especially that 19-play drive. Oh, my gosh. Those dudes were cooked. Even though the clock said 2 minutes, it was probably like a whole hour is how long that thing took. So thanks, Nick, for that. For all the details on the offers we mentioned earlier, download the WynnBET app now and set the odds in your favor. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where WynnBET is available. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right. And today, our upset of the week. The Jaguars did it again. Plus 650. They ruined the Colts playoffs hopes as a plus 15 underdog, 23-20. This was crazy. Now, I want to read something. By the way, before I get into that, Dave Gettleman just retired. So, all right, we'll get on to that. All right.
Retired.
Retired, yes. Yeah. But I got a cool text from Colts GM, Chris Ballard, he's like, dude, we got our asses whooped. I won't hide from it. He said, it's on me. I'll fix it. And that's wild, man. It's like, it is teed up for you. It is right there. That it is just, look, just get it done. And you go against a team who essentially this year was the laughing stock of the league. Memes everywhere. The clown emoji was a big deal in Jacksonville. And it's like, I mean, I really don't use the term fumble the bag, but gosh, I mean, there is no better indication than fumbling a bag than this. Sure, everyone wants to say it's the NFL. There's no easy walk in the park. You know, any given Sunday, it's the truth. Any given Sunday is the truth. But man, if there was a matchup that was like, hello, like plus 15, my gosh, like let's go. You know what I'm saying? So that was tough for that to happen. Marvin Jones goes off. He got his incentive, I think, for $500,000. He needed 4 more catches and got that done. But yeah, it's hard because you really don't want to. We can talk about Pittman and Jonathan Taylor and the future of the Colts, but it's like they were ready right now.
Mm-hmm.
Why should we talk about the future of the Colts where they had everything they needed right now? They supposed to have the quarterback. They have an outstanding defense. They have the running back. They have the O-line. Sure, Pittman was emerging to be, you know, a number one, and him and T.Y. are still, you know, 1A, 1B. They don't have like the guy that you're like, we got to take him away. But they were good enough to compete for a Super Bowl this year. And for that to happen was extremely tough. Now, I can't remember if I've been in a situation like this in the NFL. Actually, you know what? I can say I have. When I was in Green Bay and the Giants came and beat us in 2007 to go play the Patriots. We already beat the Giants that year. We beat them at MetLife in 2007. And they came to us in that freezing cold game. And I was like, we'll get this done. We just got to put up, you know, maybe 17 points. I already had a suit picked out. I still have my shoes. I got these platinum Gucci shoes. They're still in my closet. Never wore them yet. I don't think I ever wear them. I'm just going to look at them as like a sign of like, damn, Brett, you threw that pick. I was like, I felt something like that when I was at Boston College. We had to play Syracuse. The last game, Syracuse was not good. We beat them. We go to the BCS championship. That's it. We beat Syracuse. BCS bowl game for us. Outright Big East champion. We get bombarded. By Detroit. Remember, they had this one player named Diamond Ferry, and he was a safety. They needed help at running back, so he played running back. I think he had like 200 yards rushing, and he had a pick six. He obliterated us, and we like blew it. So that was a tough one to watch, man. Jacksonville goes off on a high note, and they end up getting a number 1 pick. So kudos to Jacksonville. I mean, that's the momentum you want. So, gosh, for some reason, like the Patriots struggle in Miami. Something about that Florida Heat, man. The Colts go down there and they get. Well, I can't remember last. When's the last time they won in Jacksonville?
It's been about 6 years now. I remember last year with Phillip Rivers, week 1, the Jaguars beat them, and then they lost 15 straight games. So there's just something about them playing the Colts. Also, Josh Allen loves playing Indianapolis. Like his 2 best games of the year came against Indianapolis as well, the edge rusher.
Right.
And Will, this is, you know, I talked about it before, 16 and 26 against the spread in games in which the team needs. This is 15.5 points. It's a lot of points in a division game. And especially when you're at home, we saw the Jaguars do this before also. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I called the upset. I did take the Jaguars with the points, bet numbers, not teams, the overinflation. But to lose outright, I mean, if Frank Wright was any other coach, I feel like that could be a fireable offense on Black Monday. And I know you hate it when I say this, but like, man, how do you drop a game like this?
No, it's wild. But again, what we talked about earlier in the show, right? Division game where there's implications for one and not for the other. And sure enough, man, it's tough too when you're in. You know, it's a different situation when, like the Steelers, you need certain outcomes to happen, you know, in order for you to get in. You just do your part. Where you are in 100% control of your destiny and you don't get it done. Shout out to the Niners for getting it done.
Yeah.
Getting in there.
No, you're right. It's the best position to be in. And even that Sunday Night Football game, too. Whoever won that made the playoffs. Like, I much rather be in that than have to worry. Like, Pittsburgh lucked out, but they needed all these things to happen. And they happened.
But they did their part.
Right. Yeah, you take care of business. Part.
Right. All right. So, like I said, we always have a fun segment from my guy, Nick Diaz. He always has something cool. So, apparently, Lamb is going to give me money. Mm-hmm. Right? So, it's not Win Will Black's money. It's Win Nick Diaz's money. So, Nick, talk about this one here.
Look, Will, you're my guy. I had a nice weekend in the sports investment market.
You did have a nice weekend there.
So, I want to give you some money to gamble with for being a stand-up guy. However, there are some rules that you got to abide by, right? So I'm going to give you a nice stack, a nice 1,000-piece, $1,000. You have to bet on 2 teams to win their conference. However, they need to be teams that are playing road games this weekend, meaning no division winners. Okay. Your choices are the Cardinals, the Niners, and the Eagles in the NFC. And you got the Patriots, the Raiders, and the Steelers in the AFC.
So if I'm in the NFC, I'm going Niners out the gate. There's no question about that. I think simply because they still have a lot of the players that took them to the Super Bowl before, especially Jimmy G, the quarterback. And so they got into the dance and they got into the tournament and made it to the dance, you know, in football terms. The dance is obviously March Madness, but they got into the tournament and made it to the final dance. So they have seen it. They know what it's like. They know what it takes. They know how to do it. So I will put money on the Niners in that case. And then, of course, if I go to the AFC, I'm putting money on the Patriots. I mean, that's...
No, you know what? I'm shaking my head because I feel like those are the correct answers to this. You got the Patriots experience. I mean, you're looking at the Steelers. They're 13-point underdogs in Kansas City,
but the Steelers, they're weird, man. They're weird. They're weird because it's one of those teams where despite any drama, adversity, whatever it is, I feel like they're never at odds with each other. I feel like that's what makes Coach Mike Tomlin one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. Is that stuff always comes out in terms of like, hey, there's an issue here, there's an issue here. He addresses it with the media, he addresses it with the person, the player, and they move on. Period. Mm-hmm. And he's like, all right, you know, but that's leadership from a head coach, which is why he's never had a losing season in 15 years. And so that's what kind of is like pursue with caution. Now that we're in the playoffs, pursue with caution. You know, so and the reason why I say I'm not sure because like you don't know which Big Ben you're gonna get. Mm-hmm. You know, he might take some great medicine. He's feeling good right now, so it could be a game where Big Ben is on the money and guys are not dropping passes. Najee Harris had a nasty elbow injury. He came back and finished that. We don't know what he's going to look like. But TJ Watt can just ruin the game. And him and Minka can just ruin the game. That's very, very possible. They have the players to disrupt Mahomes. That's how you beat Kansas City. And if Kansas City has issues on defense right now, they can't have that right now. So, yeah, but still, it's the Patriots. I can never go against the Patriots, especially when they're this far, when they're in the tournament. But yeah, money goes on those two teams.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. I
think the Niners, think initially?
I wanted to say Arizona.
Absolutely not.
But yeah, I just can't see it.
Absolutely not.
I will say though, I think I wouldn't mind playing Tampa Bay right now.
Absolutely.
With how they look at wide receiver, their defense being a little shaky. I still think Tampa Bay is going to beat the Eagles, but Jalen Hurts, I think he's a wild card. I think he can make plays, a lot of plays. He's been in big games, and he just strikes me as someone where the stage is never going to be too big for him. And I just think right now, Tampa Bay, as they currently are, I wouldn't be that upset to face them.
No, I think Jalen Hurts does have the energy, the aura. He's everything you want from a intangible standpoint for a quarterback, right? And I mean, the prime example is him getting benched at Alabama, watching Tua win. He celebrates with Tua, goes to Oklahoma, and goes off. And then goes to Philly, gets the opportunity. Now he's the guy. He has that mindset where not that the moment's ever too big to, but he's never rattled from the situation. Right, it's never too big in terms of like all the magnitude, or it's never too big in terms of an issue. He's always neutral, and to get a guy like that is great, you know. And that's ironically, the quarterback he's playing against has the greatest mind when it comes to that, and Tom Brady. You have somebody explode on the sideline, and you still just go ahead and go down and throw a game-winning touchdown. Like that right there is Tom Brady in itself. Yeah. Like he's not worried. I think it was, like I said, Jay Slater that put out, if I was Tom Brady, I would be livid. I would be furious. This man lived in my home. I helped bring him back. I would be furious that he did this to me. And I'm like, Tom is not going to be furious. He's not going to be livid. He's going to be disappointed. But he's a situational guy. Like he studies film. They would say, know your personnel. This was a risk. He knew that. He's surprised. He's probably surprised that it took this long for it to happen, that it didn't happen last year. You know what I'm saying? He's not disappointed. I mean, he's not livid, but he's disappointed, you know. But I will say this, though, like for Tampa, AB, they got a ring last year, so it worked, you know. So
yeah.
It just didn't work a second time. So everybody can say what they want, but they got what they needed. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
All right. So that's it for today's show. But next episode, we'll be back to preview Wildcard Weekend, which I'm excited for. I love the playoffs. There's nothing like it. Once again, this is Upsets and Underdogs presented by WynnBET. Do not forget to subscribe, throw us a rating and review, and tell your friends. My 7-year-old daughter subscribed to the show, so you can too. Follow me on all socials at Will Blackman. Nick, where can they find you?
Nick Day is 10 on all social media.
All right, we'll catch you next time. Peace out.